On a previous video I made, which you see here, matching up the Everse 8 as the top and matching it with the Bose Sub1 as the bottom subwoofer section. A couple of people have asked me, how would that setup compare with the Bose Pro 16? And that's a great question. The only problem is I don't have a Bose Pro 16. I do have a Bose Pro 32, and I have a Bose S1 Pros. So I pretty much know about the Bose signature. So let's talk about it. So we're going to use the bag on the bottom there. That'll be our quasi Pro 16, since I don't have one. So the first thing in comparison would be price. The setup I have here, the Everse 8 750, Sub1 900. Then you have to maybe get a stand. That's $50. And then a couple cable, XLR cable, $20. Well, I say maybe a stand because you can also set up the Sub1 horizontally on the floor, and you can get a sub pole. If you're interested in that, check my previous video about the Everse 8 Sub1. Anyway, so total $1,700. On the right there, the Quasi Pro 16, which I don't have, that's $1,900. So Bose Pro 16 is a little bit more expensive. So one of the great advantages right off the bat I see of the Everse 8 is the fact that it's a modular system. So what I mean by a modular system is you can break it down into its components. So here I have the EV8 on the floor as a monitor in a band situation, and many people use it in that role, and it's very effective. Or I could take the Bose Sub1 and I can match it up with a different top. Or I don't have to take the Sub1 and just use the Everse 8 as a battery-powered busking amp, where that's a standout feature, that it does have partial battery power, where the Bose Pro 16 is all AC. The Sub1 is AC. You need power for that. I personally use external power to run the Sub1, but that'll cost you another $500 or so to get something powerful enough. I use the EcoFlow Pro. So let's start with the positives or the pros of the Everse 8 system. So let's talk about weight. The Everse 8 on top there is only 18 pounds. So that's really manageable. And the Sub1 is the lightest sub that I've found personally at 36 pounds. It's really manageable, and it has great ergonomics, handle on top, and it has a grab bar on the bottom. And I have always said it carries like a big airport suitcase. Unfortunately, it doesn't have wheels, but the Pro 16, on the other hand, is heavier, and I believe the bottom is 41 pounds. So it's not super difference, 36 pounds compared to 41, but there is a difference of weight there. So the Everse 8 has a much better app, really a strong part of the Everse universe. All the Everse line can work on the same app. I have the EV30, I have the ELX12 subwoofer. They all work on the same app, which is a wonderful feature, everything on one page. In comparison, the Bose app is pretty lean, pretty basic, 2-band EQ. They still don't have mids. They haven't improved much, but some people like it. So the Everse 8 has an 8-band EQ. It has all kinds of EQs, and so it's really a step above. That's a great plus. The Everse 8 has a different house sound, completely different house sound than Bose. So you really have to listen to these. If you've never heard these systems, I wouldn't buy by someone on YouTube giving a recommendation. I would personally go into the store and listen to them, and your opinion is number one. So the Everse house sound is typical PA sound, very, very clean, high end. I compare it to a live sound on stage, how live instruments sound right in your face. Now, some people claim that's fatiguing. You can't take that for too long. Or on the other hand, Bose house sound is very smooth, mid-range heavy, and people say they can it is the opposite, non-fatiguing, something they can listen to longer periods without turning it down or turning it off, and they compare it to more of a hi-fi sound. Now, there's some disadvantages to the Bose house sound, and that is every Bose that I've tested or owned, including the top Pro 32, which is $3,300, which I own, it has a rolled off high end. It's mid-heavy, and the specs show it. I'll show you the specs in a little while. I believe the specs on the Pro 16 is 18 hertz, which is rolled off compared to most PAs. The Everse 8 goes up to 20, which is more common. So most PAs, JBL, Everse, RCF, have that bright high end. Bose has, like I said, more of a mid-range heavy sound, and the other speaker that I can compare to Bose that also has more of a rolled off mid-heavy sound is Yamaha. So if you have Yamaha, then you know what Bose sounds like. They're kind of the same. What else? Okay. The dispersion of the Bose is famous for 180 degrees. No other company could match that. So what that means is one speaker, one Pro 16 can really fill a large space, one speaker. The Everse 8 isn't bad. It's about 100 degrees, and that's about typical for your tops. QSC, I know my QSC does 90, so the Everse 8 is 100. It's a little better, but nothing compared to the 180 dispersion of Bose. They're just untouchable. Getting back to the fact that the Everse system is modular, some DJs will have the Everse 8 out up on a stand like this at ear level, and then they'll hide the Sub1 or any sub that they match it up with under their DJ table. And it's less cluttered, less pieces of equipment that guests can touch, and guests are wondering, all that bass is coming from that top, and some DJs don't tell them that there's a hidden sub under the table. So that's again another example of being modular. Another great advantage that I use often that I would miss if I owned the Pro 16, and that is the Sub1 has gain control. And what that means is it has a volume control. So in the beginning of the night, you might want to keep the bass lower. And then as the night rolls along, or maybe you want to crank it up for the dance floor, or maybe you're playing some jazz tunes and the bass that you have set on the Pro 16 is just too much. And like I said, with that limited EQ of the Bose system, it kind of, when you lower the bass, it affects everything, it affects the mids and everything. So here on the Sub1, you can just turn down the Sub1 a couple of notches, or on the other hand, you can crank it up when you really have that heavy bass tune that the hip hop crowd is dancing to. So here's what I'm talking about. Here is your gain control. I have it set at 11 o'clock. That's usually a good setting to blend with the top. Of course, you can crank it up depending on the track, maybe as high as maybe even 2 o'clock. If you go much higher than that, you're gonna start hitting clipping. But I usually never go past 1 or even bring it down. If you, like I mentioned, if you're playing jazz or acoustic instruments, you don't need all that heavy bass. But when you take out the, of course, a bass guitar, keyboards that have more of a full range sound, and of course, electronic drums or actual acoustic kick drum that you're miking, then you definitely want to take the advantage of a real subwoofer. The actual spec of the Sub1 says 40 Hz when you look it up, and the Pro 16 says 42. So everything I've read though online on the Bose Facebook, YouTube, what do they call it? The Bose Facebook page or community claims that the Sub1 and the Pro 16, the bass is about equal. So again, I've never owned the Pro 16, so I really can't give you my opinion about it, but let's just say they're very, very close. So this is the spec sheet for the Pro 16. So on top there, there's a negative, EQ, two-band EQ, which is it's pretty lacking. A great complaint of many musicians, including myself, is where is the mid-range control? It's really sorely missed. You need highs, mids, and lows. They just have highs and lows. Really not good. But I guess they want you to buy their own standalone mixer that has everything. Okay, and then so I want to focus on the frequency response here. It goes down to 42. As I mentioned, Sub1 says 40, but a negative is at 18 Hz. It's a big negative in my opinion for the Bose sound. It definitely sounds rolled off when you A/B Bose or Yamaha compared to all the other top-notch PAs out there. Like I mentioned, JBL, RCF, even Alto. They all sound cleaner on the high end than Bose. So part of my mix and match channel is I mix those type of speakers with Bose or Yamaha, and I get best of both worlds. But of course, most people don't want to carry two different types of speakers, so that's what makes my channel a little unique. So a great plus or pro for the Pro 16 and all column arrays for that matter is the fact that you have everything built in. You don't need a speaker stand, you don't need cabling. So that makes it really easy set up and tear down, and people that go for column arrays really love that feature. Another thing that you have to be aware of is to get the EV to sound proper, you do need to spend some time and have some knowledge of EQ. If you just take it out of the box and play it, a lot of people have returned it saying, hey, it doesn't sound so great. So you have to spend some time EQing it, and then you can get it right. But on the other hand, Bose is famous for plug and play. You take an S1 Pro Plus out of the box or the Pro 16, and you plug it in, and it just sounds wonderful. So that's something you need to consider, especially for the beginners who don't have the experience of EQing. Last but not least, an important advantage of the Pro 16 would be max volume. It's rated at 124 dB, and the Everse 8 is rated at 121. Now you are going to get a bass boost from the Sub1, but you're not going to get a lot of volume from the Sub1, maybe 1 dB, maybe 2 the most. So the Pro 16 will be louder. Not drastically louder, but if you're looking for max volume from the least amount of pieces, the Pro 16 would be your choice. Mr. Glassman on the bottom here on the floor has reminded me that another advantage of the Bose system, especially the Pro 8, Pro 16, and Pro 32, because of the 180 degree dispersion, there's definitely a factor of fatigue, and DJs will report less complaints from people from the tables up front. So the Everse 8, again, is your typical top 100 degrees, or another top, like I mentioned, my QSC, 90 degrees. That's like a flashlight, the sound, think of it as a flashlight beam of light. It's direct to where it's pointed at. So when it's pointed at the tables up front, people complain. It's too loud, turn it down. And then the people in the back complain it's too low. So the Pro 16, because of the 180 degrees, it's more of a dispersed sound. Now, personally, I've experienced this with my Pro 32, and the Pro 16, it has 16 small 2-inch drivers instead of one big 8-inch or 10-inch driver. So because the sound is not focused, the sound is more dispersed, like I mentioned. So I've had experience where the Pro 16, and I'm sure it's the same pretty much for the Pro 16, for the Pro 32, and I'm sure it's the same for the Pro 16, and that is, I've had the volume up pretty loud, and I've walked in front of it at a very close distance to my ear to the column, let's say less than a foot or so, and it wasn't that bad. You would think it would be super loud with your ear that close to the sound source, and it isn't. Now you try that with the Everse 8, you walk in front of it 12 inches from the 8-inch woofer, blasting at over 100 dB, you're going to feel it. So as far as sound health, I would definitely say the Bose system is something that people should consider if you value your hearing, especially as a DJ who's playing so many gigs in a row monthly. On the flip side, Mr. Whiteman, my DJ friend here, has reported that when he has his DJ table set up and he stands on the side of a Bose product like the Pro 16, he's still getting plenty of sound, and after a long gig, his ears are really fatigued. Where a normal top like your Everse 8, as long as you stand pretty much behind it or even to the side, you're not going to get a blast of volume to your ears, because most of the sound, like I said, is focused in a straight beam like a flashlight. So which one's better? As far as hearing, I guess it really depends on your application, if you're a DJ or not. If you're standing right next to the speaker, personally, I don't do that. I'm not a DJ, and I stand back 15 feet minimum from my setup. So both of those scenarios are not really both of those scenarios don't affect me. One of the negatives musicians point out is the Pro 16 only has one reverb, where the EV has numerous. I don't remember how many, but there's a whole bunch of different choices of reverbs. Again, as a drummer myself, I only need one reverb that's decent, so it doesn't really affect me. Another big negative of the Pro 16 that was mentioned from the very beginning when it came out is the infamous column wobble, and it has a plastic extension that's it's just not very robust, especially compared to the previous Bose system, the L1 Model 2, which I also have. That was all metal. So to save weight, they went to plastic, and a lot of people, many people, returned the Pro 16 and the Pro 8 to a certain extent because of the Bose wobble. The Pro 32, I don't have that issue. It sits in pretty good. Another issue that I've heard with the Pro 16 is hiss. Again, I don't have the Pro 16, so I can't verify that. But I know from my own experience with the Pro 32, if you don't know how to gain stage it properly, usually if you push it over 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, you're going to have hiss. But if you know what you're doing, it shouldn't be a problem. Okay, that's it. No sound demo is necessary or possible because I don't have the Pro 16. And if you want to hear the Everse 8 Sub1, I'll put the link down below because I did a previous video about it, and I think it's a great system. So as far as which is the best, that's not something I can tell you. It really comes down to your application. Like I mentioned, do you want the lightest? Do you want to spend the extra $200? Is that a factor? Do you want a modular system? Do you want something with battery? If the AC goes out, the Everse system, the party continues. So there's a lot of factors here. It comes down to your personal choice, and I would love to have your comments and which would you go with between these two systems. This is Bill. Thanks for watching.